I always first start with wire to get a general shape, because you need a little bit of reinforcement because wax is too soft. I'll let you feel the typical wax you use to sculpting. Then you have an idea how easy it is to shape, but also how easy it gets way too soft if you hold it too long. And I've been making sculptures for over 30 years, but at that time I still worked as a communication advisor in Holland. And usually in summer I put the sculptures in the fridge, because otherwise the rearing horses would melt from their legs here, and the ears would disappear and all that. And at a certain point my husband said, for God's sake, cast some of these things, I can put my beer back in the fridge. So that's how it started. But first you get a general shape. This is that shape.
Okay, this one.
Of this one. I'll do it on the other side for you. Yeah. And then you start to add thinner wire, and I always use, because that's better for the bronze casting, copper and not iron, because then in the end when you melt it in bronze you don't get good quality bronze. And then I add thinner wire for here, where the head and the legs a little bit, I add it with thinner wire, and then I start to add wax. But you can imagine this is still very fragile when it's just wax and a little bit of thin wire inside it. So you need to keep it either in a cool environment. I can't work with wax in summer months in Spain, it's impossible. Now it's just starting that I can't start to work with wax again. But I'm going to... So you take off thin layers. This is my main tool. Thin layers. I add this a little bit. I think, okay, here I'll make a little bit of the head, and I continue like that. And that's all very easy. Anyway, easy for me. And I use this to, because you buy this in big plates like that, and you either melt it and put it on in a sink or whatever. You get a very thin layer. That's easy. That's what I did here. Or I use this, which is also used in Holland to peel potatoes. So these are my main tools. And then you get a wax sculpture in the end. Like I said, when I like it, and I looked at it for a while and I changed it around a little bit, I may decide to make it ready for the bronze casting. And now I'm doing the whole bronze casting process myself. But a couple of years ago I only did the first phases, that you make a mold, and then I went to the bronze caster. And let's say I brought along another sculpture, that this is my finished wax sculpture, and I want to make a mold. So this is a mold.
That's wax.
This is no wax, this is just as an example. Because otherwise, when it's this soft kind of wax, and I hold it here for a long time, the shape will have changed already, so that's not practical. And that's also why I need to make a mold and prepare it for the whole bronze casting. Because when the wax is too fragile and it won't last, and it's no good keeping it in the refrigerator all the time. So I need a mold like that. And with a mold, most molds are made of 2 parts. When it's a more complex figure, you may have some, they call it supporting molds, 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts. But you always look first at your figure where will be the two parts of the mold. With this figure it will be along this line. I put her on a bed of clay, simple clay. Let's just this is easier. Let's just say that this is a bed of clay that she's covered till half, where I want to have the separation between the two molds. Then I take a two-component material, which is this, and it's two components because at first it's very flexible and then it hardens, but it remains flexible. And this material is the only difference in the whole bronze casting process in what we do nowadays and what we did in the Greek antiquity and old Roman times. Then they used plaster for this, and then often when you took it off a figurine, it broke. So with all the 7 different copies, you had to make the plaster again and again. Depended a little bit on the complexity of the figure. And now we have this material which will remain fine for 7 copies. Apart from that, nothing changed in the whole process. That's why it's a very old, how do you call it, ambacht, trade? Trade, profession. And first I use a pencil, why can't I remember that cost?
A brush?
First, thank you. First I use a brush again to put this material on it, to get every detail. That's really important. But I also need to work quickly, because when it's solid, the way it's now, you can't do it anymore. So first all the details, only the upper half, then put it quickly on. And this is to make the connection with the shell later on. And this hole here, put it in here, is where, if we have the bronze casting process, the bronze will enter here and slowly fill the whole figure.
So you fill the bronze in this material?
No. You're very right, that's not possible. So we need a couple of different phases for that. That's why the whole process is so long, time consuming and rather difficult, because it can go wrong in every phase. This is the very first phase. I remember this was my wax figurine, the original. I make this and I let it harden, and the next day I turn it around. I take the clay off and I repeat the same process on this side. First is the brush, the 2-component material. I have about 20 minutes to work it and then it's hard. Then is a spatula, spatel, I don't know that word either.
Yeah.
Well, something like this. I put it on, I let it harden, I wait, and then the next day I make the shell. Why do we need the shell? Otherwise it's too flexible. And the shell is also a 2-component material. I myself use for the shell still always plaster. This is from the bronze caster. He has more professional material. And here's the same thing, you put it on. That's the easiest thing to make. One side, the other side, and when all that became hard, again, you have about 20 minutes to work it. Then I can open it. I take the original in wax out, and I have a perfect negative shape. Then I melt wax, because I need wax which is stronger than this wax. It's special bronze casting wax, which is way tougher, stronger, and it's not easy to work. That's why I don't use that right away for my sculptures. I melt it just in a small saucepan. I pour it in, let it harden, can open the mold, and I get a wax, a stronger wax than the original. Here, you can feel it, it's much harder than the...
It's like the resin they use with the 3D printers?
Yes, it's very much. It's not that hard as resin, but it's more resin-like than the wax because this is really soft material. And so this is the bronze casting wax you use to make the figure. And this is made from the same kind of mold. It's exactly the same process. And then you get this one. And then I need to prepare this one for the bronze casting process because like you very rightly said, when I pour molten bronze in here, molten bronze, over 1000 degrees, bronze starts to melt. 1200 degrees, it's good enough to pour it in mold. This will evaporate with 1200 degrees. So I can't use that. I need a fire-resistant mold. And I'm gonna use this stronger wax for that. And again, this is the figure over there. And you may think, there's one leg missing. That's here because either I needed to make it much bigger, the whole mold, or I do it this way and then later connect it. That's also possible. When I'm gonna pour the molten bronze in, I need to think how will it go. When I pour it from here, and I add a cup like, this one. I really use these plastic cups, because all that will become bronze. And that's where you pour it in, because it has to be a little bit big, the opening, otherwise you need to pour so precise, it doesn't work. It goes down and down and down, but this is a problem, it won't go up here. So I need to make something, and I use this for it. It goes up, and also when it goes down here all the way, and I don't make an air channel from here, and I don't connect the ears that it flows well, and I don't make another air channel from here, I get big air bubbles here, and bronze can't go further. So you use these air channels and connecting channels, so the flow of the bronze through the whole statue goes well and goes quickly.
So the bronze goes inside the mold that you made, no?
Around this, we're gonna make a fire-resistant mold, which is a hollow form,
okay.
And I'll pour the bronze in that.
And which material is it? Which material is it?
That's usually plaster combined with gravel.
So you first have this, then you make this goes in.
And then I make this, and then I'm gonna prepare this.
With another kind of plaster like this. Yeah.
It's many steps.
So then you do
because
exactly
I'm
the
not
same.
yet there.
No. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. So, but with this step, I need to think about the molten bronze, how it will flow well or not. Because, like I said, when it goes in here very well, no problem. So as horses, it's very difficult to get it right in the legs, in the tail, and in the ears. Always the problem areas. And usually I make a lot of connections. So here you see a connection. And it flows like this. It goes in here, can go there. And when it comes out here again, I'll make connection from here to above. Then I know, okay, it's full. When it comes out from there again, same thing. And I'll use so now we have here the original, we made the mold, that's this. And now we have this. I'm gonna prepare this, and this stronger wax I can hold for a while, and it doesn't change shape. And it was not possible with my original. Here you can see the connecting channels and the air channels. And here is where we pour the bronze. And when I've made it, all the connecting channels and the air channels, I'm gonna put this whole thing in plaster. First again with a brush. And it's really important that I'm careful to get all the details of the manes, the ears, all that. And then plaster reinforced with a little bit of gravel, or sometimes metal even I use, chicken wire things, when you have bigger things. And I put the whole thing in a bucket, No, I leave the bucket for later. So you get a big plaster thing here, all around it. But I still, inside the plaster, I have this. And I need to get all this strong wax out before I can pour the molten bronze in. So I turn it around. I put it, here's the big plaster thing. Let me imagine that it's here. It's concealed by plaster totally. I put it in the oven for 2 days. 800 degrees, 600 to 800 degrees, 2 days. Then the whole wax will melt out. I can use it again if I catch it. Then I have left an empty negative form. Then I turn the whole mold around again. I can heat the bronze until 1200 degrees. That's nicely molten. I can pour it in here. It will slowly start to fill with all the connecting channels until in the end the air channels, it comes up again. Then I know it's full. I leave it until it becomes hard again. When it's 1000 degrees, it's hard. And also with this, I need to work quickly and I can't stop. When you pour the molten bronze and you stop for a second, it's not a nice flow. You get a crack in the bronze. You can't repair it. Then you need to start all over again. And then out comes this figure with all the connecting channels, with the air channels and with the sprue, which is the channel I use to pour the bronze in.
So how do you take the plaster off then?
That's the easiest part of all. Well, I just smash it because the bronze inside is way stronger than the plaster.
So then if you make a second one, you have to do this all over again. You come from this one and then you make this again.
The easy thing with this, I don't have to do this all over again.
You start from this one again.
With this,
From this. Okay.
Yeah, true. And also, I need to make all the connecting channels again because this was totally molten. So then I need, and that's a lot of work, I need to file off all the connecting channels. And you need to repair that a little bit that you can't see it in the bronze. Because when I see bronze which is poorly made, I always see here this line where I know, oh, there were the two molds and they didn't take the line off well and they didn't. Or you see color difference, that's not good. So you need to file, saw this off, the big things, you need to file it and sometimes repair things and sometimes also add things which are separately come out. And you do that by, what do you call them, when you connect two pieces of iron. It's a little bit harder to connect two pieces. Oh, that's what the music I hear in the back. It starts in...
No, it's right there.
Is that door? Well, I'm almost finished here. So you need to take that off, you need to connect things, if a leg part or whatever is missing. And then you get the very last phase, which is the patina, the color. So I use the burner, I use different kinds of acids, and depending on the color I want, I use the acid. But it's not possible to get exactly the same, because when I just brush on a little bit more acid, because sometimes people say, oh, I want that color, exactly that color. Okay, it will be near, but the same, impossible. And that's also why these 7 originals really never are exactly the same. And then when all that's finished, I add a little bit of wax and it's ready.
It's also attractive. Little bit different colors. It's also very attractive.
Yeah, I like it too, because it works very different, in a different color. So the whole bronze casting process is rather complex. And again, the only thing which changed from the old Roman and Greek times is that we have this 2-component material now, which is flexible, and at that time that was also plaster, and sometimes it came out well and sometimes it broke and you had to also make that one.
so this is smaller, your things are small, but how do you do it if you have a big bronze, like bigger than this? How do they do it?
Well, they still wonder about some sculptures they made in the Greek antiquity, how they were made, how they were able to do it. They don't know for sure. But all in all, it will be the same process.
Yeah, same process.
But you usually, let's say if it was the height of this building, then this is made in different parts. Then you make this part, you make this part,
and they're welded
parts.
together.
Yeah, they're welded together.
And usually when it's bigger, it's hollow, right?
Yes. Exactly, that's hollow because
Otherwise, too much material.
no, it's not just the material. It's a very good remark. It is partly the material, but it's mainly when you have a lot of difference between thin and thick. Bronze shrinks a little bit. When it's molten, it expands a little bit. When it becomes rigid again, stiff again, it shrinks a little bit. And when you have a huge difference between that, it shrinks way more here, where there's more material, than here. So you get the sculpture totally out of proportion. So it needs to be hollow to get a really good copy.
How do you make it hollow?
How do you make it hollow? Very good. You remember this process here. I first made this mold, and then when let's say that I want, this is just on the edge if you make it hollow or not. This one is massive, but if it was a little bit bigger, it would be hollow on the inside. I've made this one. It's the supporting thing. If I can remember how it fits, this way. And I pour the special, more stiff wax in. I let it settle a little bit, I pour it out, and it's still liquid. I pour it in a little bit again. I pour it out 3 times, sometimes 4 times. It quickly settles in these parts where it's small, but I need to fill the whole belly and all that. I need more time. And I stop when I have this size of bronze on the inside, and I can feel that. When it's a little bit bigger, you can feel how big it is. When you have more or less my pinky size of bronze, maybe this when you have a really big sculpture, then you get ideal bronze thickness. It doesn't need to be more. And then I stop with the wax, and then I pour in just as support, and that's a mixture of gravel again and plaster. That goes on the inside. Then I put in this phase where I make the connecting channels, then I put little copper nails in. I go through the wax here until I reach the inside with plaster and gravel with just a small copper nail. If it's a big sculpture, maybe a big nail. And later I saw these nails when it comes out off. I file them off. So that's how you make it hollow. Because the negative form you have left then is hollow. Would be this, but hollow on the inside. And only the negative hollow form is what gets filled with bronze.
Very interesting.
But when I'm doing that, I have a friend who knows a lot about this. I've learned it, how to do it, but it's complex, and I would never do it on my own. Because you have to be really careful, because you're dealing with 1200 degrees, and one time this phase didn't go well, and there was still a little bit of wax left, or I think just moisture, not really wax, in the mold when we poured in the molten bronze, and we got like a fountain of molten bronze as a reaction, and that's dangerous. Of course, I wear protective clothing, I wear my wooden clogs from Holland, because they're really well, the only kind of shoes who can sustain molten bronze a bit. And I have protection here, and this is all leather, and I'm dressed in leather like this. These are my gloves.
No, then you can't work in the summer here. No.
The first bronze casting course I did in Spain was in the summer, and I complained about it. I said it's not realistic to do this. I think I lost 2 or 3 kilos that week. It was too much, just more.
So you give courses to
Yeah. So you have to be very careful, and unless he got that friend who knows very well how to do this. When you pour in molten bronze, you have, I couldn't find the photo, but here you can see, if they pour in the molten bronze, do you see they wear a helmet, protective clothing, and you need to keep a distance because it's so hot.
Is it toxic?
The fumes, you shouldn't inhale them, that's why I've got a mask. I'm wearing a mask with, that's not healthy. Let's see if I can find a photo. No. What you usually do when you pour it in, there is a long thing. We hold it from, he is standing there, I'm standing here, it's that distance. And the cup was molten bronze, which is a special hardened iron. It can withstand 1400 degrees, is in the middle, so we are at least this distance from the 1200 degrees bronze. And one is guiding and the other one is just holding it. And you need to work together. But unless he got an eye attack, an infarct in his eye, so now he has trouble seeing distances. So we said, now it's dangerous, we stop until he's used to it and can see better. Because you can't, it would be extremely dangerous if you pour molten bronze over somebody. I mean, standing the way I am now, I would melt. So we don't want to take that risk. So now I bring my sculptures again to the bronze caster in Holland. But I hope he, and I tried to find one here in Spain, but it didn't beat my quality. It's and the first time I came in with some of the sculptures, and it's pretty fine work, and he really went like, ook. He said, oof, that's very detailed, and I don't know, because most of the things they did was for ships, you know, the big bronze screws at the back of a ship they used to steer. That has to be very good quality bronze, but it's a different way of bronze casting when you do art than big industrial things. So there are a couple of really good art bronze casters in Spain, but they have a waiting list over 2 years. And that's not realistic. When I sell something that I tell someone, well, in 2 years' time, come back. And so now I just bring it to Holland, and it's a little bit of a hassle. But, at least I get it in time and in a good quality.